Look, where do we even start? Look, I've got no voice, I've got no emotions left. I'm sweating my tits off. The instant reaction to Newcastle Liverpool's coming up, whilst I try and gather my thoughts on what was such a roller coaster of a football match, and one that I think Newcastle definitely deserved something from. It's all coming up, Newcastle fans. Do us a favour and make sure you stick around. Right then, for the first time this season, I'm outside my usual spot. I'm emotionally drained, my voice is gone, I don't feel great, but my God, am I proud as punch, which is a weird statement to throw together. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, but I am proud as punch, and that's the overriding emotion coming out of St James's Park tonight. We've been beaten by one of the best teams in the world, granted, and I said going into this match that all of the talk about was smashing into them, Joe Linton doing this. Yes, I made jokes about it, but there were so many videos of fans saying we were going to do this, we were going to do that, and I was worried we might have egg on our faces, because if we lost to a team in Liverpool with Wirtz, Salah, Gakpo, Ekitike, is there any disrespect in that? Is there any shame in that? Sorry, should I say? No, there isn't. But my God, we played up to that occasion. We knew it was going to be electric tonight, and I thought in the first half, first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the players fed off our energy. Liverpool couldn't get started. We were cheering every tackle. We were cheering every pass. We were booing every moment they had the ball. And we really, really lapped it up. We couldn't get the ball on the floor. I think there was a bit of an overriding emotion early doors. People wanting to make that tackle. They were wanting to do this and do that and get rid of the ball. And it felt a bit chaotic, and that was the football match. I mean, when is Newcastle Liverpool not chaotic? Whether it's at St James's Park or Anfield or even in a Carabao Cup final. Had to get that one in there. But I thought we were good. We don't have a striker, and it's becoming so glaringly obvious that I tell you what, I'll touch on that at the end of this video, but Alexander Isak was probably watching. Of course he was watching. Of course his agent was watching, licking his lips at the opposition, coming to what was once his home. It just frustrates me more that that bloke who's currently right now being paid by us puts us in this position, because there were so many good balls in the back box. Alanga got in good positions. Harvey Barnes whipped good balls in the first half, and there's no one there. And that's what you need to feed off against a team as good as Liverpool. But we're in there, and look, Liverpool go 1-0 up. Could we have got faster out to Gravenberch? Of course we could, but that ball goes through bodies. It's frustrating, but it happens. And Nick Pope, I'm watching it at half-time on the replay down on the concourse. He's got no chance, and it does go through bodies, and you see that as frustrating. But can Newcastle start again? It took a bit of time to get going again. It did. Of course it is. It knocks the stuffing out of you. When the emphasis is on you, the home crowd, everything's going to a degree in your favour, and you go 1-0 down, it's difficult. But we rallied with them, as we always do from the stands, and we started again, and we got back into the game. And then Anthony Gordon, look, whether it's a red card has been, from what I can see, up for debate. I watched it at half-time. Some bloke to me, in his NTL Shearer shirt, said it was, and I quote, the most blatant red card you'll ever see. Well, I don't know how long he's been watching football for. Jesus Christ, I've seen elbows to the face, I've seen foots to the face in high challenges. That wasn't the most obvious red card you'll ever see in your life. So I don't know how long he's been watching football, but mate, you wound me up. I've seen it, I totally understand, but my frustration is with Anthony Gordon. Before I even knew whether it was, the first thing I thought was, why are you doing that? First line of defence. And look, Gordon's got a reputation for it. He's done it against Brighton. Look, the Brighton one was just hands to the face. But you are literally our only player who can play a striker right now, other than Asula, which we'll touch on in a second, who did actually end up doing a job. Keep your head. You're the first line defence. If he wins that tackle and it goes out for a throw-in, great, but it's not the be-all and end-all. If Anthony Gordon is chasing the last man through before he's about to score, Nick Pope one-on-one, I totally understand why he's doing what he's doing. Doing it where he was, all I thought was he was lapping up. If he'd made that tackle, the first thing he would have done was jump up and go to the crowd, come on! And we know we love that, but it wasn't needed. It was just a case of a player losing his head. And is it because he's playing against the team he supported, the team that's got him riled up? And he said after the Aston Villa game, look, we know what that Liverpool match is going to be like. Maybe, who knows? But it was just so frustrating. It made my what was already a pretty naff half-time pint taste that little bit more bitter. And we've got a job to do there. But we go in half-time and we regroup. Half-time comes, we don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I'm thinking the worst. 10 men against the Liverpool side who can make so many changes, whereas, yes, we have options off the bench, but not the same level of options as Liverpool. I tell you what, that second half, I've never felt prouder. I screamed for every ball. I jumped. I was heading. I was basically falling on the person in front of us. And we were man for man. We were excellent. The way Eddie Howe set us up, Alanga a little bit higher, camping. Don't always press because you can't do that when you're a man short. We pressed when needed, but we were so resolute. We were so good defensively. And the aggression that you need at St James's Park, helped by the crowd, it gave us a game. But of course, that all being said, there was a goal to talk about early doors before we get onto that, and that was probably after the goal, Ekatike. Good finish again, I'm not going to deny that. Of course, he had to score at St James's Park after we went in for him. Sod's law, it was a lovely finish. Again, did we react fast enough to the ball bouncing to him? Probably not, and that was our Achilles heel tonight. 2 goals where we could have been faster, we could have been a bit more aggressive, and we weren't. Lovely finish. Nick Pope, again, I would say had no chance. 2-0 down, and at that point, it feels game over. And I've probably jumped the gun in talking about what I saw, but again, fast forward to what I was saying earlier, so much aggression, so much positivity, and of course we needed that bright spark, and that bright spark came for a lovely cross, and Bruno, who just epitomised everything that he's wearing the badge for Newcastle, especially when the going gets tough. It was good. It was a brilliant header. It really, really was, and that set us up, and that was the passion that we wanted, and we got going again. Wow, we've got something to chase now. I think so many fans were so frustrated feeding off that Gordon red card that it was done. But no, we had something to feed off, and we did, and we kept on going and going and going. I think Liverpool didn't really offer very much. Liverpool, if I was a Liverpool fan in the stands, all the way up as quiet as they were, I tell you what, because the atmosphere was so good, and I never heard the Scousers all night, they must have been thinking, we should be offering a bit more here with the quality that they had. And we just kept on pushing, and that William Asula, look, Eddie Howe made changes, Ramsey came on, Miley came on. I was a bit shocked and annoyed to see the likes of Tanani go off, but Miley came on just to be a bit more steady on the football. I thought Ramsey to bring a bit more legs, and Asula just to bring someone who's a bit more of a natural striker. And my God, he chased that ball down, and when I watched that ball go in the net, it was euphoria. And then suddenly the emphasis was with us. It was, and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed with all the minutes that were added on. And it was just a sucker punch. Look, I need to watch the winning goal back. Could we have defended better? I'm sure we could, because it looked like he had the freedom of St James's Park in the penalty box to tap that in. But we didn't deserve that. I don't think any Liverpool fan would claim, any proper Liverpool fan, not a social media one, would claim that we deserve that. But I am as proud as punch of every single one of them players. And look, positives, I've spoken to fans tonight about positives. Positives was every player playing for the badge. Massively every player playing for the badge. I could say man of the match, Tino Livramento was excellent. Of course, he got moved over to right back in the second half, and Lewis Hall looked pretty bright when he came on, but Livramento driving the ball forward, decision making, crossing into the box. He is one of the best fullbacks in the league, if not in Europe, and he proved that at the Euros. Brilliant. Bruno, I thought he started the first half pretty slow, I'll be totally honest with you. I wasn't happy with him in Aston Villa. I thought Bruno was the slowest of the 3 midfielders. Tonight, he looked pumped. He did. And we expected every single player on that pitch to be pumped, but Bruno epitomised Newcastle, especially in that second half, driving us forward, winning free kicks, the header for the goal. He was brilliant, and it's players like him I feel sorry for tonight. Defensively, I thought Dan Burn, excellent again, excellent. Just his energy, his passion, his drive, and his organisation as well. I thought defensively tonight we were pretty solid. Look, I'm not going to blame the back four for the goals we conceded, because those goals were shots from the edge of the box, in and around the box, not reacting fast enough to it. And yes, I'll have to watch them back, as I always do on these instant reactions, but I've got no issues with the back four. Kieran Trippier, I thought he was decision-making in the first half when he was going for headers wasn't great. He needs to be better with his experience. He's not the tallest player at all, and he was losing out here and there, and he was trying to make up for that in areas, but it's his leadership and his experience that's one of the reasons he's on the pitch. Anthony Gordon is going to take the biscuit for me. He really, really is. You've got to be better. He looked zippy, he looked sharp, and I'm not going to deny that. He looked really, really on it, as he did at Aston Villa for the first 30, whatever it was, 35, 40 minutes. He's not a natural goal scorer. I don't blame him for that, but he looked sharp enough, and you never know when that ball's bouncing around. He's going to get in behind, he's going to push Van Dijk, he's going to push Canate, but you've got to do better. You've got to make a better decision. You've got to be more professional, but also just more street smart, head smart, to be lunging in like that just for the sake of the occasion, just because of the sake of the atmosphere. And for me, that's all it was, without sounding like a stuck record. Other frustration for me, Anthony Alanga, I like him. I love him. He's got pace. We saw it in the second half when he picked up a ball on the touchline. He drove it forward. He is still learning, this Newcastle team. And I would probably argue that Jacob Murphy, someone who holds the ball calmly, collectively, makes the pass, gets the cross in, might have been better in that first half. We weren't playing on the counter-attack. We were on the front foot. Anthony Elanga is still suited to that. I thought Anthony Elanga was better in the second half when we had 10 men because he's used to playing on the counter. Final shout-out for me has got to be Alexander Isak. Look, it's going to ramble on. There's a week to go the window, I think. I'm bored of it, we all are. But he's put us in this position. He should have been playing tonight. He's being paid off us, regardless of whether he wants to move to a football club, who I will repeat, and not making the bid for him, and he's refusing to play. And we're in a position where Anthony Gordon's playing up front. We look a bit makeshift in that area, and he's put us here. Yes, we haven't been able to get the transfer business over the line, but Bruno, Joe Linton, every single plate tonight played for that badge. And I was asked on a Q&A tonight whether Alexander Isak can win the fans over again. He can, by putting the ball in the back of the net. I will celebrate with Newcastle United, but I'll probably never celebrate with Alexander Isak again. And it was riled up. There was atmosphere building up to this one, and I've got no complaints. We were beaten tonight in the most painful way possible, but we put on a good show, and I've seen enough against Aston Villa and against Liverpool to know that we've got the organisation we've always known under Eddie Howe. We've got the tactical nous with 10 men tonight to set up well against one of the best teams in the world, and we've got enough players. Ramsey made his debut. I was happy enough with him. He looked bright. We've got enough players in this team, as long as we can get strikers in, one striker, and sort this Isak situation out once and for all, to go on to Leeds on Saturday with enough optimism. Anthony Gordon, penny for your thoughts, because not even a social media apology will make me feel any better right now. I'm up a height. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I've lost my voice. But Newcastle fans, as always, let us know your thoughts on what was a roller coaster of a football match. Let us know what positives you saw, what frustrated you most tonight, and what needs to be done in this window. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support. I haven't always had support, and I've had some awful comments tonight made here and there, which I won't touch on in this video because I like to stay positive. But keep the faith, as always, and away Eddie Howe's want to play for the badge, Mags.